Draymond, how tough is it to end a season like this under these circumstances without Steph?
It sucks to end it without Steph, but they beat us. You know, injuries are a part of it. We've won championships. When guys got hurt, that's a part of it. You know, you try to, you know, you want to be as good of a team as you can be, but we always say you need a little luck, just because health is a huge part of it. So, you know, we definitely miss Steph. That obviously goes without saying, but I'm not going to come up here and harp on Steph not being there and make it like their win is less of what it is. They're moving on. You know, congratulations to those guys. They beat us regardless. You're on the other side. You play who's on the floor, and that's what they did, and they won. So you got to give them a lot of credit.
You obviously thought that this team had, you know, championship potential when everyone was fully healthy against the Rockets and in Game 1. How close do you feel like you guys got to your ceiling?
I think we've continued to improve. There's no way to really say, you know, how close we got to a ceiling is over. So that's kind of, it really don't matter. But like I said, get them a lot of credit. They were incredible. Drew played great the entire series. Ant-Man's patience was beautiful. Rudy played really well. You know, so you got to give those guys a lot of credit. Our ceiling is, it is what it is. Now we were a second-round team, second-round exit. So that's what it is.
How do you view the future, you know, in next year, next couple of years, now that you got Jimmy in the fold?
I think we'll be right back at it. Sucks to end this way, but we think we got the pieces to make another run at it and do it again, and that's going to be our mindset going into the summer. You know, do all that got to do to improve. We got one of the best ownership groups and front offices in the NBA. You know, they'll do whatever they feel is needed to help the team improve. And us as players, you got to get back in the lab and do what you got to do to get better. But I think, you know, come next year, we'll be right back at it and give ourselves a chance again.
Draymond, your final game of the season and your two big scorers obviously were both 22 years old, Pods and Jonathan. How would you sort of characterize their growth this year, and what do they need to do next to be more of a factor next year?
I think anytime you're starting to grow in age, years experience, the one thing you can always do, or the one focus that I would say is your consistency. Doing it on a nightly basis. And I think, you know, you look at those guys, and Moses as well, Guy Santos, QP, Pat, you know, they all made tremendous strides throughout the course of the year. Trace, you know, and it'll be a big summer for all of them. Obviously, JK's got the contract situation. You know, I always wish him the best with that. You know, been in that situation, whether it's here or elsewhere, you know, you just wish him the best. But I think, you know, we saw the growth from those young guys. You know, next year for all of them, you hope to see them take that next big step that they're all capable of.
Draymond, you had said this team had the capability of winning a championship. Is there anything you guys need to do differently to reach that, or do you think it's just a matter of staying healthy next season?
I mean, you go into the offseason, you better get better because everybody gets better, or attempt to get better, I would say. And so that's always got to be the goal. And so that'll be our focus. I think I still have that belief wholeheartedly. That has not changed one bit. And, you know, you retool, you do whatever it is that you got to do to take that next step and give yourself a better chance. And here at this place that we are, I have no doubt in my mind that they'll be looking to do it.
And with Jimmy these last two games, do you think it was the illness he was dealing with that kind of impacted him down the stretch?
Well, I think, number one, their defense just kind of started loading up on them. it made it a little tougher, but I know he was definitely under the weather. But, we're not a group that's going to make excuses. Give those guys credit. They defended well. They did a good job. Go back to the drawing board, figure out what we need to figure out, and come back next year. But the credit goes to them. It's, not going to sit here and say, oh, man, he was sick, or, he would have played better if he wasn't sick, or we would have played better if Steph was out there. Got to give them guys a lot of credit. They're moving on to the Western Conference Finals. And they put the work in to get there, regardless of who didn't score, who was out there. They're moving on. And, kudos, congratulations to them. They played a hell of a series.
You and Jimmy and Steph led the charge down the stretch and the playoffs and everything until injuries and stuff like that. But people are going to say going into next year that, they can point out how old you three guys are. Is that a factor? Is that a legitimate concern, or is that something you can get past?
They pointed that out last year and the year before, too. One thing I can assure them is every year we will get older. Just like every year. You'll get older, and he'll get older, he'll get older. You don't age, huh, Scott? But I don't worry about that one bit. I feel like I'm still improving. I feel like Steph's still improving. I feel like Jimmy's still improving. As long as you're improving in this league, it'll treat you well. It's when you stop improving that the bottom falls out. And I still think I personally got a lot of room for growth, and I'm sure those guys feel the same way. So, yeah, I don't worry about that one bit.
You feel like you guys pretty much got all you could out of this postseason, considering the circumstances? I mean, Jimmy coming mid-season, Steph going down. I mean, just do you think that you guys went about as far as you could? Or do you think you guys still could have gone, should have gone farther?
I definitely think we should have gone farther, but we didn't.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is. Yeah, we lost, so I guess we did get all we could, but I still think we could have went further, and I always think that. But
With Ant being Ant and Julius playing like he is, how good is that team?
they got a chance. They got a real shot. Anytime you got a number two that can just go get it, you give yourself a chance at the, to go make it happen and get a ring. And like I said, the way Julius been playing, since he came back from the injury, by the way, it ain't just start. Like the way he's been playing since he came back from his injury, he been lights out. So, I have no doubt that he'll continue to play that way. He's aggressive as hell, and he gonna go after it. He got that mindset. Always have had that mindset. So, and it's clicking for him. So I think they got a real shot at it. When you got two dynamic, and then they got all the pieces, right? Like they got Nas coming off the bench. Jaden McDaniels is a hell of a young player. Rudy, 4-time Defensive Player of the Year. Mike Conley and his experience. Dante flying around and defending and shooting. Alexander, they got pieces. So it's just not one or two guys. They got a real team. And so I think they got a real shot at it.
Draymond, the best teams in the West at the top, they got a combination of young players who are getting better, not just Minnesota, Oklahoma City, some of the other teams. You guys are a little on the older side. When you think about...
We got young players still getting better as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you feel like those young players can make enough of a leap to get you into that conversation, or do you think you need significant, personnel help that's not in the building?
I think every team in the NBA feel like they need personnel help that's not in the building. That's just the way this league works. I don't think any team, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know any team that came back with the exact same roster next year. So I think everybody feel that way. And it has nothing to do with who's young, who's old. That's just the nature of the business that we're in. Contracts happen, money situations happen, all those things happens. And so I think that's everyone. But do I have confidence in our young guys that they can take the next step? Absolutely, 1,000%.
In what areas do you feel like you're improving, and in what areas do you want to improve more?
I want to continue to be better with the ball. I think I turned the ball over way too much this year. And I think, for me, my role has changed quite a bit. always kind of been in the middle of the offense, running offense, making the plays, which allows you to take more risks because you just got the ball so much more. And I think for me, I continued to take the risk without having the ball as much. And so it looks different. And so that's an adjustment that I have to make going into next year, is just understanding what that means and learning to play better. And you lit, huh? Respect. and learning to play better in the role that I am in now. I think that's something that I continue to improve on. So yeah, I think that'll be one of my main focuses for sure.
Jimmy's ready to come on in right now.
No doubt.